Okay, let's do this all over again and let's hope that you guys can find me out there. All right. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Hopefully, now we actually do have some audio as we had some audio issues. Thank you very much for finding me. Sorry, co-hosts out there, for the the general disparities that's been going on. Apologize for that. Okay, so again, let's get into the show talking about Monster Mayhem, and I thought we could have some fun with some having some fun issues like uh, just in general. Let's see, am I here? Yep. All right, testing. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I think something else happened as well. Oh, my voice dropped out in Discord. There we go. All right. Is that better, everybody? I hope so. I hope. Okay, good. Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness. Uh boy, I need a I need like 7 people behind the scenes, man, because this Luddite just is terrible. All right. Hopefully this is it. Yeah, thank you very much, there, Tesla, for dropping in the Hotel Transylvania. Because I did, the funny thing is, I said I put in monsters on vacation, and that's the first thing that came up. It is supposed to pretty funny images as well. But anyway, all right. So role playing games, tabletop role playing games, vacation. Are there some story ideas in there? I think there are. I really do. I think some of them could be pretty hilarious, but others I think are pretty fun. Thank you there, T. Ah man, Ranger, thank you so much. All right, so as you know, the show I've been going for a week, and that's because I was on vacation, or as people overseas will consider it, I was on holiday, and I went to northern Texas, a place called Little Elm, border of Little Elm and Frisco, and then went down to South Padre Island and Brownsville. It's kind of the southern tip of Texas near the border. There's a SpaceX launch pad down there as well. I know there's many around the world, but anyway, you could see it from the resort location, and it got me thinking about like I know there are things in role playing games that just aren't fun or aren't interesting and such. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe our player characters' bathroom habits and things of that nature, or we don't role play 7 hours of sleep time for our player characters. It's all hand waved away, and vacations kind of fall into that category. But I think there can be some fun because we often have this idea of our big bad evil guys, and as someone mentioned, who I hope is able to find the channel again, mentioned that maybe our bad guys don't have time to go on vacation because they're like they're like alpha. They're they've got their mindset on world domination so much they don't have time to like relax or anything. But I honestly think there is some of that. Uh, I think there is some space for like what do people do when they're not doing the thing that they're known for, when they're not beating ass, when they're not like when dragons aren't devastating the landscape. Like, do they sit back and sit on their hordes and listen to music, or do are there evil fiends out there who are finally able to escape the wizard's, I don't know, the wizard's circle of protection or something? Or do unseen servants, when they're not being these invisible elemental forces not being forced to hunt down prey, like do they go on vacations, or what do our evil entities consider to be fun? And so I think there's some space in there for us to develop some ideas. I think one of the main ones is that, of course, what is your definition of rest and relaxation, of fun? I mean, whenever any of us go on vacation, you what we consider to be relaxing for some people might not be particularly relaxing for anybody else. I mean, some want to play volleyball on the beach. Some others want to go on hikes or uh, maybe bicycle or kayaking or extremely physical activities. Others just want to get wasted. They just want to get drunk or high or any kind of uh, social and neurological uh, lubrication that's available to them and wherever they go. They just want to take that and just disappear from have their body disappear from their minds. Others just want to go to a spa and relax. They want to sit down and just fall asleep on a beach or on a balcony or read a book or something of that nature. And now we know there are tropes where this kind of thing will happen, and of course hilarity ensues, right? Where the vacation, usually somewhere sunny, doesn't necessarily need to be. I mean, a vacation can be to a place with snow and maybe like a ski resort, but oftentimes, especially uh, in our favorite intellectual properties, TV, movies, books, graphic novels, or what have you, it's a good opportunity to get our characters basically outside of the way we normally see them. So, one good way of having a vacation for our player characters, even if they are, let's say, for example, they're on a mission to protect an important dignitary and nobles, and a noble, maybe the nobles have a deserted island with a beach and they want to go there. And how funny and ridiculous and a little bit humorous we can see our main characters in, say, I don't know, beachwear or playing volleyball or the typical gruff, no nonsense PC who now has to walk around with a tray of drinks with small little umbrellas in them and slices of exotic fruits hanging on the edge of the glass or something. I think some of that could be pretty fun. But I think the other part of that too is getting out of the norm, and much like our favorite television shows where our characters get to go to the beach. Of course, part of the beach is putting them in swimwear, so we get to see their shapely or buff and oiled down bodies when we may not normally get to see them that way. It's also a way for us to see the characters stripped down, and it's a good excuse, much like a player character that must go into a sauna or a steam bath or something like that. They have to strip off all their gear to socially blend in with everyone. And that might be a good idea to do that, where I get it that you guys are heavily armed and armored, but in this particular situation, maybe needing to go to a spa or go to the beach or maybe a dance party or something like that, you're going to have to put your weaponry down, or at least uh, out of view temporarily, to enjoy what's going on. And it's just a good way to relax in that sense. Um, Dead Man says in Borderlands 2, let's see what the whole comment. Yep, will show up. Says had the downloadable content add-on Sir Hamlock versus the son of Cromerex, which was a vacation that was crashed by the sons of several bosses from the first game. And listen, the the vacation cut short is a major trope, and this is probably a good way to do that, right? Where maybe you want your player characters to be lulled into a false sense of security, or of course your player characters will never be lulled into that, but that might be a good way to protect the important dignitary that's on vacation. Player characters are looking over their shoulders. They know something's going to go wrong. Nothing happens. The player characters finally, the paladin gets out of the chrome armor, finally getting into a Bermuda shorts with a with their flaming holy sword or something, and then all of a sudden, giant tentacles come out of the ocean and want to, snatch party goers up as they're listening to new wave music or something like that. So that's a good idea there. But also, strangely enough, maybe this is a strange but good way to have our big bad evil guy show up somewhere. Like, for example, maybe it's not so much a confrontation, but maybe there's like a rakshasa or a lich or anything like that. Like maybe there is a big bad who arrives somewhere, but not for the purpose of like invasion or world domination, but comes with a large entourage and is traveling. I don't know. It could be a spelljammer type of thing where they arrive somewhere and they just want to partake of the goods and services that are available just because they're on way from point A to point B and figured they could stop by. Maybe it's a good way to introduce, oftentimes, especially with a mystery or a series of events that lead the player characters down a path. A player character, sitting at a bar, looking out at the ocean, relaxing, and say another mercenary sits down next to them, and they realize they're both in the same. They are both dangerous. They both have their weapons within fingers reach, but they're like, you know what? This is neutral territory. I'm not here to go after you. You don't need to go after me, and we really don't want to cause any violence. But maybe that might be the thing that draws the player characters into a storyline. Like, why are there mercenaries or enemies or evil beings or something hanging out at the beach for no good reason, right? There must be a reason. And sure, they're not ready to cause trouble here, but maybe they're willing to cause trouble elsewhere. And so this could just be the beginning of a storyline where the players are like, "Hey, we need to follow this individual or these um, group of individuals and figure out what is going on." The Many of the James Bond movies have this as a theme as well, right? When James Bond tends to dress up in a tuxedo, oftentimes these are at places with exotic locations where there are often at a expensive resort or someone's home where they've invited many people from around the world with expensive cars, and the same can be done in fantasy as well. Maybe a rich noble's having a party and wants everyone to visit, and of course everyone has a room and a place to stay, maybe in a vast campus, and this is a great way to have a reason to not have violence taking place, or at least not have violence immediately taking place on someone's private property, knowing that the first person to cause destruction or violence is going to, of course, suffer severe penalties from everyone else who's there, and also, by the way, losing face. But also, this might be a great way to insert a lot of social interaction, um, and using those skills like persuasion and insight and deception and sleight of hand to sneak into people's rooms or eavesdrop over other people's conversations and things of that nature as well. Also, this could also be a great way to show another layer of a big bad evil guy's, um, I'll say, their motivations, right? So, for example, of course, we understand a dragon blasting the landscape, or evil lich going to collect yet another powerful artifact, or a fiend that wants to open up a rift to allow the world to be overrun by evil creatures. But what do they do in their downtime? I mean, yes, we've seen plenty of action movies where the bad guy is always chewing the scenery with a bunch of their lieutenants who are always mean mugging the heroes when they appear. But you can only puff your chest out and twirl a gun and pick your teeth with a sharp knife for so many hours till you're just like, um, I need to use the restroom, or I like to go get a drink, or I'm getting a cramp in my calves because I'm flexing so much. What do you do in your downtime? And mind you, that downtime could be something as simple as getting another look at our bad guy, where it's maybe they like to go to the park and feed birds, or they use their ill-gotten gains to fund an orphanage or something. And especially with vacation time, maybe they just want to. Maybe their desire isn't as fiendishly oppressive as we think, especially if it's a motivation of like I became an evil lich to create a world of peace, and this just happens to be a small temporary reprieve from my ultimate mission of bringing world peace to the world, even though, much like Thanos from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's like, yeah, ultimately, what did Thanos really accomplish at the very end? He was just like, "Ooh, I did what I needed to do, knocked out half of life in the universe, and I'm done. I think I'm just gonna farm." Right? It wasn't a matter of raising his fist in the air and going around like doing the typical proverbial mustache twirling, right? And so, and even when assaulted and eventually murdered by our main characters, was just like yeah, I did what I needed to do. Just because you're upset doesn't mean I wasn't right, you know. So maybe that might be something as well. Also, what some consider a vacation, others might find pretty lethal and dangerous as well. Like, for example, there is the idea that maybe, just maybe, um, while a post-apocalyptic world of fire raining down from the sky and the seas boiling and I don't know, mountains being shattered, maybe there's some bad guys that are out there like, oh, this feels great. Yeah, acidic seas and necrotic lightning. Like maybe we you uh go full post-apocalyptic, and maybe they really enjoy that kind of thing. Maybe that is a swimming in acidic seas is pretty fun for them. um uh or I don't know, taking a nap on the piles of their dead enemies or something like that is something that they look forward to. A little bit on the nose, I think, but I think there's space for that. Also, what about the players just being able to have a conversation with at least the lieutenants of some of your bad guys? That Rakshasa that is normally used to lying and cheating and stealing goes on vacation, maybe sets up a bazaar or a place to sell their ill-gotten goods or whatever. And sure, maybe this entity becomes a bad guy, an antagonist later on. But as far as the story goes, they're like, listen, I'm not here to cause trouble. And of course, it might be all lies as well. Player characters are definitely going to be suspicious, but maybe one evil entity lays the clues for stories elsewhere. So, you know, maybe there's an evil entity or something that's just like, listen, not here to cause any trouble. I'm not here to threaten, but here's a little clue, a map, a medallion, maybe there's a confluence of the stars aligning at a particular time, and it's like, listen, I understand we have some conflict with each other, but right now you need to look to the north, or in 5 days hence there's going to be something pretty terrible that's going to happen. I'm just letting you know. We've seen this plenty of times in police procedurals where a detective has a connection with a criminal on the streets, but maybe that criminal isn't they have a code that maybe some other criminals don't have, and they go, you know what, I'm letting you know about these other criminals and their goings on because it benefits both you as, say, law enforcement, and me to get rid of a rival. And so temporarily we work together. And of course there can be the whole mean mugging as well. Like, I'm going to get you later on. And of course you're going to come after me, but I'm going to absolutely run from you. But right now we've got something worse to think about. So yeah, I don't know. A shape-shifted dragon might let someone know about a fiendish invasion or something like that, and the dragon's like, yeah, I don't want them here either. And yeah, I don't really feel like having to flex my muscle, but you guys are heroes. You go ahead and do it. And of course, they can watch from from the background. On vacations as well, with classic things happening on vacations, where terms like food and drink and music and dance, and maybe even like silly things like playing cornhole or pin the tail on a donkey, or I don't know, going surfing and things like that. Those can be some fun strange and maybe even mechanical things that you could throw into the game to have some fun as well. I'm not sure exactly which character class and or race combination would be best for going surfing or something, but I'm sure dexterity has a lot to do with that, and some athletics, to swim out the shore or whatnot. Also, it might be a great way to first contact kind of things work well with a vacation in terms of you know player characters need important information. The connections that they have are like we're not going to hand over that information unless you engage in some kind of fun or strange or exotic activity beforehand. And we've seen this plenty of times where the heroes get off a ship and they talk to an exotic culture, and no one understands what's going on unless they they go native in many ways. And this could be something done as well. For example, whether it's deep sea diving for pearls and having to hold your breath for a very long time, or again with the surfing, or it could be hiking or and climbing up to high peak hill with the great um, look out over the ocean. And much like which is going to be incorporated into the Level Up 5e from the Kickstarter that's going to be coming out pretty soon, shortly. There might be some benefits if you give even mechanical, actual game effect benefits for player characters to engage in your vacation activities. I mean, waking up and looking out at the sunset at the highest peak and getting up to that point, maybe there is a benefit to them. Maybe they get a benefit of like a bless or a guidance or resistance or something, like some kind of cantrip or whatever, or a one and done boon that the characters receive for just being able to have some rest and relaxation, the equivalent of finding like a fountain of youth, or I was going to say finding a golden stream out in the woods, although I want to drink from the golden stream. But you get what I'm saying, right? Where there might be some kind of benefit for the player characters to say, okay, there is a reason for while as a player I don't trust what's going on. In game, the character might be like, yes, I get to. I don't have to be Billy Badass any longer. I can put down my items. I can rest, and maybe there's a druids or something that's like, you know what, the only way for you to pass from this world to the dream world is to relax or maybe there are fey creatures. Drink the concoction and your mind will leave your body and you just have to relax into it. And of course the players are like, yeah, someone's going to take our stuff and murder us in our sleep. And they're like, yeah, but this is the only way to fight the night hags in their own dream realm or something of that nature. So of course vacations are always tend to be spoiled, but another part of the vacation might be that um, a society of people who are maybe perpetually on vacation and they don't know the horrors that are on the outside world. The player characters might be those people who are battling to keep the world pristine, or at least maybe the small community. And so it's not so much a vacation but a quiet haven for the player characters to return to, and to maintain it that way. So this could be like the player characters covered in blood and adorned with weapons and power and whatnot, from their homes. Might be something that they're not normally used to, that's not normally available to them, and the people might look at them as being uh, brutal or animalistic or something if they knew exactly what was going on. And much like the story about the Inoi and the Morlocks and whatnot, um, maybe the player characters come from a world where the population really doesn't know the horrors of the outside world, and they want to keep it that way. And they want to protect their family and friends in a small community, or in a larger sense, maybe there's a barrier somewhere that prevents the localized community from seeing what's on the outside world. And or this could even be an experiment by the gods, or a powerful cabal of wizards or something like that. A gold dragon wants to create a perfect society and is protecting them, and the player characters need to uh, are there to converse with this, lawful and good um, gold dragon who wants to send them on missions, but then they realize that the gold dragon later on has kidnapped an entire society of people and put them in a bubble. And the gold dragon's thinking like, yeah, I want to keep them safe from the rest of the world. I want to keep them innocent like sheep. And but the players are like, you're treating them like pets. And they're like, well, aren't humans are pets to me? Much like Omni-Man talking to his son Invincible, like, think these people are they're like pets to us. Their lives are meaningless. As they hold their son's face forward into a oncoming subway or train or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of that as well. Also, a vacation doesn't necessarily need to be a physical place. It could be a like a psychic a place on a psychic plane or a dreamscape, as I mentioned before, or like a shadowy Fey Glen of some sort, where yes, the player characters may eventually get caught up in a bloody physical confrontation, but for right now, on this mental plane, there isn't any physical violence at all. You just can't do it. It's all psychic. And yep, or like Dead Man mentions, VR or VR location in Eclipse phase. Absolutely. And it could be, of course, virtual reality, much like let's say Star Trek with the holodeck or something like that. It could be so hyper real the player characters don't even realize what's going on or where they're at. It could be the beginning of an adventure where last adventure we were running from a horde of demons, and the beginning of this venture you wake up on a beach with your Bermuda shorts and suntan lotion and pina coladas, and the players are like, what the, of course, if they trust you as a GM or a DM or something, they're like, what's going on? And much like in Eclipse phase, high tech, you're plugged in, this could be like an opening, and then we get to go back a little bit and go like, oh, by the way, you went to ego cast yourself from one place to another, and you ended up in this tropical vacation of sorts. But why are you there? And because you're on vacation, you can't have any, or you're mentally stuck in a virtual reality. No, you can't pull out your guns, but you got to figure your way out of it. And why and how are you able to navigate this situation you're in? You're like, okay, I don't have my weapons. I think I'm somewhere else. Who are these other people? Are they just constructs, or are these other individuals stuck in the same place I am? And again, a great way to introduce or have a conversation with your other big bads who themselves might be plugged in to a virtual reality, and they're like, you did this to me, and the players are like, no, you did this to me. And they're like, well, let's work together to get ourselves out of this so we can go back to fighting each other again. Also, when it comes to virtual reality, the players don't necessarily need to be in the same plane of they don't need to be next door to the bad guy. In other words, they can be cross-dimensional. This could be broadcast over large areas. A great way to have, again, having that physical presence of the big bad evil guy with your player characters without the player characters just going ham, hard as a mother on your bad guy before the conversation even starts. It's like you try to have violence and you can't do it. So all right, well, I guess we're just gonna have to sit down and sip our sippy drinks and get get sissy drunk and whatnot and figure our way out of this, So yeah, there's all kinds of things that could be happening in and around the idea of using a vacation as a motivation. Also, again, going back to the going back to the mission, the player characters may not be on vacation, but they might be going somewhere where there is a vacation location, or they are taking, like, again, the important dignitary. They are bodyguards so that people can have fun. It's important, maybe it's important for um, a entertainer, a noble, a rich merchant, any number of individuals to have a good time. And the players might be in a position of A, defending the lives of their charges, and B, having fun with the people that they're trying to protect, which of course what that's extremely tropish, but can be very fun. The half orc trying to do karaoke with the young noble. Maybe the tiefling has to play um, yard games with some kids or something like volleyball or yard darts or cornhole or something. Maybe the uh, Darky McNasty, the assassin, has to put like suntan lotion on the hairy back of the rich king or something like that. I mean, you could have some fun with that as well if you would have some uh, pretty ridiculous encounters. Also, lastly, there might be some, maybe the bad guys don't know what it's like to experience peace. And we've seen this plenty of times where someone is, hey, Mike, what's going on? Yeah, stole a little bit of your idea, but as far as like monster origins and motivation. So I thought it was might be kind of cool to do this each day, just a different thing each day. But for today, we're just talking about vacation and using that as a backdrop for encounters and motivations and some fun things. Oh, no, 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 no. It's the idea of coming at our adversaries from a different point of view, either from their motivations, like why are they here? Very different. An alien invasion for world domination is very different than an alien invasion because they want to go on vacation, right? But you had mentioned that you had created like a vampiric type of adversary and monsters that take over their hosts with like insects burrowing into their brains and things like that. But that changes the origin, and by changing the origin, you change how we interact. And so I thought, well, we can actually expand that out to make story ideas. So that's where it came from. So back to vacation part. Maybe there are evil entities out there that don't know what a vacation is. Yep, exactly. Yep, yep, yep. And that vacation idea might be like maybe the evil person could be convinced not to do the evil things that they're doing because they've never known peace. Oftentimes we hear, like, going back to the alien invasion, the goblinoid hordes, going back to that idea, it may be that the okay, like the goblinoid hordes are ravaging farmlands. They're always going after small towns and whatnot, and beating against the walls of city states and whatnot. But usually it happens because one basic idea is that they live in a harsh environment and they don't know what peace is. They have to fight and battle, on a daily basis just to find food and shelter because they live in a blasted land of volcanic activity and there's no farmland and whatnot. Some have even could have even made the case that um, northern invaders from Europe were that way because there were few resources and too many people and a harsh landscape, and you got to get out of there to find a place where you can really find rest and relaxation. And in a strange way, for many of us out in the world, we want to battle and work hard so that we can relax. But on the other hand of that is, by the time we get to relax, some feel that you may lose your edge in the idea of relaxation. If you understand what I'm saying, right? It's this constant cycle of like, hey, we need to fight to get peace. Once we're in peace, we're going to lose the ability to fight, and then it starts that whole system all over again. Ushi says, I feel like a lot of good Agatha Christie style mysteries are someone goes on vacation and is a bit is a bit of a fish out of water figuring out what's going on. Oh yeah, that happens. Um, that literally is a TV trope, right? Where we take our main characters out of their norm and we take them and we put them on vacation, and oftentimes it's like we get to see them on the beach, basically undressed, right? Or we get to send them to another foreign country where there's a comedy of errors because they don't understand the culture, or they uh, uh, someone goes to a foreign place and someone gets lost, or they turn the wrong corner, or they say the wrong thing, and play for laughs, of course, a lot of times, although it does play on stereotypes quite a bit, but that can be played for laughs as well. Or we get to see our characters up against we get to see our characters up against major monuments and such. So, for example, here, like in the States, a lot of times we get to see the PCs next to the Statue of Liberty, or some other in Washington D.C. The monument, or whatever, or the White House, or whatever. We get to see them up against those particular institutions and such. Um, Mike Gould says many conflicts arise from a lack of understanding or a lack of communication. Imagine my party's surprise when a long campaign ended um, with a PC marrying a hobgoblin Canite. They never saw them as people. Yep. That happens a lot, and uh, but the reason I like to play with tropes, and I mention it a lot, is because it works, right? It works a lot where, where on one hand you may not, for example, the goblinoid hordes, and you see them as mindless beasts, but then you realize like all they really want to do is fight for peace. They're constantly fighting because they they have no idea what is next. And so to show them what a vacation would be, what relaxation would be, is just like, oh, well, this is what we're fighting for. Like, oh, I get it now. And of course, you have the push and pull, right? Where maybe they're hardliners that are like, we don't have time to relax, because if we do, we will lose our edge, and then we will be at the bottom of the totem pole in the conflicts that are going to happen in our most brutalistic world where we came from. Michael goes on to say, villains in your fish out of water are a great way to explain the PC's assumptions from another point of view. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because how strange it is with, again, I make fun of our heroes in their Bermuda shorts or bikinis and whatnot. The same goes for the same goes for not just our PCs but our bad guys as well. A can you imagine, like, I don't know, one of Demo Gorgon's lieutenants or something wanting to ravage everything, and then finding out that there's a place where they sell, very tasty pastries, and there are kids playing music in the streets, and a demon is just like, what is this? What is this madness? It makes my heart feel good. I hate this. And it could be pretty fun. Um, let's see if the whole comment will show up. Mike Gould says, example, those hobgoblins looked at the mercenary company the PCs belonged to and questioned how their commanders were in charge. They could not understand how family or nobility granted authority. Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. So you listen to those who haven't earned your loyalty. Exactly. Where that's the clash between, what is it, a meritocracy, I suppose, of sorts, versus a one of like blood leadership with nobility, or leadership granted out of seniority, or leadership granted out of something else, and having that cultural conflict might be a way. Now, mind you, This isn't quite vacation, but a very stereotypical meeting of the minds in, say, something like stereotypical samurai conflicts, where, or I'll say also the idea um, of safe havens in amongst like a Bedouin style of culture, where within the game it is, yeah, Dead Man's meritocracy versus aristocracy. Yeah, yeah, that's ooh. um Founding of the United States, anyone? There's the idea that there is a time and place, no matter how violent the society is, to have peaceful discourse. And so the drinking of tea or sharing of hookah, or um, the, the 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 leaders of two armies meeting together to hash out, or at least have a conversation before everyone knows that the battle will happen. Within the culture of your world, this might be a thing. Now, it might not be considered a vacation, but sure, before the battle begins on the solstice, 5 days hence, maybe the leaders of both parties come together and they're like, okay, well, what do you want? Well, we want to take over your land. I figured that. Oh, what do you want? Well, we want to murder your leadership and whatnot. Oh, okay. Well, at least that's it. Well, let's have some drinks and talk it over, and at least decide where our dead bodies will go to and who will claim them and whatnot. There may be something of that nature as well. Like, hey, if um if you rout my armies, I maybe there's some sort of exchange of, what was back in the day. Um, you would exchange family members to achieve peace or something of that nature. I mean, heck, there might even be something arcane involved, where in order for a fiend to step into this world, the soul of an innocent must step over into theirs, and this might be their method of achieving that, right? Where an innocent person goes, you know what, we don't want to have this fiendish invasion from the nine hells or something like that, but to stop it, maybe we have to convince someone to step into their world or whatnot. But while not necessarily a vacation, this could happen over a period of time in which the player characters are like, okay, we're going to have to figure out what their agenda is, what their power is, and maybe even stop them gathering. Maybe the period of peace is, the bad guy wants to have a period of peace because they're gathering more allies, much like we consider the classic goblinoid horde, who finally has enough influence and power to combine these disparate tribal nations or something together. Maybe the player characters are like, okay, we don't want to start this war because they are combined together, but what power does this person have? And you maybe find out that the orc chieftain really doesn't have power, but they're being backed by an evil lich or something of that nature. And the only way they could have even found this out was through having talks, or again, not understanding that maybe the goblinoid hordes aren't as evil as we think they are. Maybe they're just like, we're really just trying to travel from one place to another. um, Here we go. I'll get to Tesla Ranger. I like his little comment there. Oh yeah, Michael brings up horse culture. But anyway, it says going back to that wedding, they had never seen hobgoblins smile. There were things like dancing, wrestling contests, knife throwing contests. Yep, and strong drinks of fermented and spiced mare milk. I love that, the whole horse culture. Yeah, that's again, maybe it's just a strange mixing of cultures. Like, what do you find pleasant? Or every culture has celebration of some sort, and the player characters may not understand it, but like, for example, in a horse culture, maybe there is some sort of like a contest to break a horse, and that horse could be anything from a mustang or a stallion, all the way up to a hippogriff or a griffin or something like that. you know Absolutely. Mm, 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 mm. Ushi mentions Asimov. Asimov was always wonderful at setting up a single important difference in a society or situation and then extrapolating a story. I love you guys know why we're here. I love taking a simple thing like like this idea of vacation and extrapolating out of it. Um, Mike's about to start an argument as to whether the Die Hard movies are Christmas movies, but that's a whole nother flame war. But anyway, Tesla says Die Hard and Die Hard 2 both occur while McClane is out of New York trying to reconcile with his wife. And at Christmas even. It's not until the third movie that he finally gets to have an adventure in New York City. Even the third film takes place while McClane is supposed to be suspended. So he isn't even supposed to be involved in crime fighting. I'm fighting then. I know the whole comment won't show, but you're absolutely right, Tesla. It was a it was definitely like a comedy of errors in many ways. For example, the very first Die Hard movie, there was a reason why he was barefoot in the movie, right? He didn't have all his weaponry. He was just a cop, like trying to get with his wife and figure out what's going on. And she moved to California, and they were going through a divorce. And then all of a sudden, you know, all hell breaks loose in the Nakatomi building, and he took off his shoes because on the flight over a person next to him says to get over the jet lag, take off your shoes and socks and just rub your feet into the carpet. And then he does it, and he's like, wow, that actually works. Wow. And then all of a sudden gunfire started, right? And how interesting would it be for the player characters to be in their Bermuda shorts and they're like, uh-oh, blast of fire, we need to go stop this. Was it fear of flying? I didn't think it was fear of flying. I thought it was jet lag, but it doesn't matter. Though the point being, it was he was barefoot, and how did we connive a way for our hero to have a weakness, and that was one of it, and that's kind of cool. Is really really cool. Ushi's like definitely an a Christmas movie. Uh, people Hans, yeah. Here we go. Mike's like, it isn't Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza. It wasn't Christmas yet? Hmm. See? You don't know anything. Michael also brings up the out of the box adventures. I have an out of the box called Beertoberfest, a dwarven autumn festival. It's a great way to take a dour culture and show them as people who enjoy fun. Hans. Yeah, great movie. Great movie. Now I got to see it again. Now I got to see it. It's got so many fun, great moments in it. But the point being is that the best parts of best the best parts of the best Die Hard movies was our hero was an everyman put in a position that he was not expected to be in. And a vacation is a great way to do that, where our players are proverbially lounging on the beach with all their good stuff hanging back at their rooms, and between where they're at and where they get their gear on or whatever. What a great way to toss something in there different, like tentacles coming out of the ocean. PC goes to reach for their holy flaming sword, realizes it's back in their I don't know, their hut that's on over top of the ocean, and they're like, that's about a half mile away. Damn it. Michael says, I believe what is it? It's on Disney Plus, believe it or not. I'd have to check that out. Hmm. Ushi mentions that Sudoku mentions vacations seem really good to fit with a one shot in terms of structuring a game. I agree with you. Um, television does the television does the vacation as a one shot many times as well, where our main characters oftentimes they're like police, fire, medical, lawyers. I can't think of a fifth one. Teachers maybe, or students or something. Anyway, but usually it's at least those top four, and we need to send them somewhere. And of course, they're on a bus to go somewhere, or they arrive on the beach. We get to see their hot bodies sitting on the beach, or maybe their clothed bodies at a ski resort or something like that. They're taken out of their norm and they're placed somewhere else. And then, of course, again, hilarity ensues. But usually it's a one shot because maybe they paid to put the characters on a road trip, or the series needed a shakeup, or a new writer comes along. And the same can happen in our role playing games, right? We're like, man, I don't like, I don't know. I don't have a good idea. And then all of a sudden you're like, I got it. You guys went on a vacation because of you were invited to a Fey Glen, and you and 2 dozen other people were invited to have this party with the Fey creatures or something. And this could just be a one and done, because much like Ravenloft, you go off into this, I don't know, pocket dimension, do the thing, and then come back, and that might be it. Yeah, like Deadman says, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, or all the Lampoon Vacations things. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Michael says even the concept of trying to get to a vacation is a great trope. The road trip to a vacation is a great motivator. Absolutely. Technically, okay, guys, technically, the entire Mad Max franchise writ large is about a guy and a society trying to find paradise. As a matter of fact, not the original Mad Max, but the second one, Road Warrior, was literally based on what was like a crumpled up um, postcard about paradise and hoping they could get there. We never find out whether they actually got there or not. And that's kind of the point of the whole Mad Max series, is about, hey, we're all struggling and murdering each other left and right and going crazy and fighting over resources. But out there somewhere, there's a place where we get to relax. And, in a post apocalyptic world, that's what everyone's really fighting for, Yep. Mike says, take National Lampoon's Vacation and make it a wagon trip filled with madness just to get to vacation. Yeah. Yeah. A Christmas themed Ravenloft setting would be the bomb. I don't know. It would be dark and bloody, but I think it would be awesome. Could you imagine the forced smiles and kissing under the mistletoe and the whole 9 yards? Could you imagine all that? That would just be strange and odd, but perfection, I think. Oh, the Road Warrior, one of my favorite movies. Just walk away. Leave the healing potions. Lord Among Us. They had some dumb names, but but I love. Yep, leave instead of leaving the gasoline. It's like, leave the healing potions. Leave them there, and we will let your people live. Of course, they weren't going to let them live, but whatever, whatever. That's what bad guys do, right? But anyway, guys, not sure what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to mix. We're going to this Monster Mayhem thing. I think a good idea is we're going to do some really tropish ones like revenge, world domination, nihilism. We're going to do some of those. We're going to have some fun with some motivations like romance. Of course, we did vacation today. Maybe road trip is another one. How many bad guys we have with the road trip? Thank you, there, dead man. um, Thank you so much. But yeah, road tripping is another one. We're going to do monster origins as well. Curses, um, insectoid, mutations, otherworldliness, deep space, and overlay this with what we already know in, say, classic Dungeons and Dragons or science fiction or something like that. Like, you know, an example would be vampires. Well, we've seen vampires as undead creatures that bite the necks. They're kind of hypnotic, and we've seen the sparkly vampires from Twilight. But we also know, like Mike Gould brought up with the ghoul flies. Like, what if you're a psychic vampire and this is more a psychic energy, or what if they're deep space vampires with like lampreys, as mouths, or what if they have mind control that's with insects that burrow into some people's noses and ears or something to do the thing. um, Dungeons and Dragons has already done this. There are classic zombies, then there's yellow musk zombies, both zombies but different origins, and we can play with those origins. And I think by playing with an origin, um, a werewolf curse versus is much different when the curse is done with someone that affects someone that's innocent, and the PCs must confront the werewolf that's innocent versus the monstrous beasts that are out there that just want to murder everyone, and the PCs can just murder kill them at will. Before we get out of here, Michael's like, Ravenloft Christmas would be Scrooge, but with real ghosts taking the PCs through the tragedies of others' lives and maybe trying to fix them. Damn, ain't that gold? I love that. I love that idea. The player characters having to fix the 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 past, present, and future lives of other people, and with real ghosts in order to get out of it. I love that idea. That is awesome. Mm-mm-mm. Tiny Tim grows up to become a world dominating lich, and they have to stop it by stopping the bad things that would cause Tiny Tim to become the setting's most powerful lich ever ever to have lived. That would be awesome. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. Please check out Level Up 5e. It's a project, of course, I was brought on to. I'm just a small, very small cog in a big machine of trying to come up with Advanced 5th Edition. Yes, Advanced 5th Edition. Right now, we're going through um, a play tests and rewrites. So if you go over to Level Up 5e and this is something that you're either interested in or you think it's like, why? Like, don't we have Pathfinder? It's not the same thing. And if you go over there, you'll see all the playtest materials, all the surveys, all the information that's leading up to this. I think is probably going to be probably one of the top 5 Kickstarters in RPG history. And I say that because I'm kind of part of it. So so maybe it's a little self promotion, but believe you me, there's some brilliant writers working on it, and content creators, and I can't hold a candle to them. So please check that out. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. Of course, tomorrow, and as always, please come over to Twitch and YouTube and Discord server, or find me on Facebook or whatever, and just join in the talk. We love to talk geeky things and everything. Everybody, have a great one. I got to head off to work. You guys, I'll see you later. Have a great one.